Living Nova Scotia for facilitating this fantastic event. We're here tonight to celebrate the launch of Jen Powley's latest book, Making a Home, Assisted Living in the Community for Young Disabled People. If you don't have your copy already, you can buy a copy along with Jen's other book, Just Jen, over at our table over there. It's a fantastic book, and I'm really excited to talk about it with you all this evening. As Jen mentions throughout her book, patience is an important skill, and it's one that we've all had to practice in adjusting to our celebratory plans tonight as a result of the devastating impacts of climate change. We were originally supposed to celebrate this back in May when the book came out, but I am really grateful that we're all able to gather here today and share some collective joy. All of us at Fernwood Publishing are so honored to have played a small part in helping to share Jen's story with the world. Jen, thank you so much for the work that you've done to push the government of Nova Scotia towards an understanding of disability that's rooted in the social model and away from their deeply entrenched medicalized thinking. It's already, It has already fundamentally changed the lives of people with disabilities in Nova Scotia. Thank you. While the pace at which they work is certainly glacial, your courageous expertise is helping to slowly shift policies and develop programs that promote the autonomy and interdependence of people with disabilities who call this province home. Making a Home is more than an account of the shared attendant program's development, although it does provide an excellent overview of that as well. It also asks readers to confront the broken system that we live in by asking really thoughtful questions. What is complex about giving and receiving care? Why is our worth as human beings tied to our employability? How can we ask for our needs to be accommodated when our needs are constantly shifting? Jen poses these questions and many others with sincerity and, of course, wit, her personality radiating out of every single page. Thank you, Jen, for providing a blueprint for anyone who seeks to transform the ways our government treats people with disabilities, and for trusting us at Fernwood to help get that blueprint into the hands of the disabled people who are going to continue making homes for ourselves. Congratulations on this phenomenal achievement. It's now my pleasure to invite Carrie Ernst, the Executive Director of Independent Living Nova Scotia, to say a few words. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I want to thank you for joining us today, particularly for the Art of Disability Festival and celebrating Jen and her new book, Making a Home and Community. I've known Jen since my early days at ILNS, and she's been a valuable component of the independent living philosophy and the work that we do at Independent Living Nova Scotia. During this time, we have learned from each other, supported each other, and had a dream that aligned. It was with common goal that we asked for the opportunity to develop and present to the Government of Nova Scotia a business case for 24/7 care model so that Nova Scotians with significant physical disabilities could either remain or reintegrate into community. Previous funding structures meant that one individual with physical disabilities could only attain a maximum of 7 hours a day in funding to have a residential resource worker assist with daily living. Therefore, hundreds of young people with severe physical disabilities had to move into long-term care institution or pay out of their own pocket. Eventually, after successfully presenting a business case in the spring of 19, we were eventually approved to move forward with the shared services pilot. We were approved in January. I'm reading January of 2020, and then COVID hit. COVID slowed us down. To say that this project has been a labor of love, sweat, and tears is an understatement, especially when we first got underway. The COVID-19 pandemic was in full force, coupled with the housing shortage in Halifax. The project moved at a snail's pace, to say the very least. In months, we were still having no luck in securing living spaces. Who knows how much longer it would have taken if not by happenstances, Jen's next door neighbor did not put their condo on the market. We'd still be looking for a place, I think. A sense of relief to finally have secured a major part of the project could have fell through if the HRM, without the HRM, when the papers were signed on July 15th of 2021. This feat would not have also been possible without the support of from Jen and her family. But the waiting was far from over, and we were able to secure a developer. However, the continued delays in retrofitting the units due to shortages of skilled laborers, as well as building supplies, but finally we made it in the fall of 2022. The project launched, and Jen, along with 3 other Nova Scotians with significant disabilities, moved into community. What is even more exciting is that the prospect that has based this original project, as well as developing the best practices over the last few months, the Government of Nova Scotia is expanding the shared services pilot and has committed to moving 200 individuals with significant disabilities from long-term care back into community. So, good. Jen has captured this extensive journey and more within Making a Home, assisted living in community for young disabled people, and will leave you engrossed to the last page. As her previous publications, you'll see that Jen uses her confidence and perseverance in the face of difficulties. Through these skills, she has the ability to function with uncertain situations and see herself as worthy and a deserving individual. One word that comes to mind is that of mastery, which, although typically is defined as learning a skill or becoming proficient in it, in this instance, it means being in charge of your own life and your own perspective. Mastery is how well you can adapt and persevere through life's challenges, and Jen continually accomplishes this for herself and others with disabilities. Thank you, Jen. I'm going to invite Rae Boudreau. Rae,
Hi everybody, my name is Rae. I use they, them as my pronoun. I've known Jen now for a little over 3 years. Despite being currently physically abled and growing up as such, ever since I was a child and skipping class to hang out in the resource room, I've always gotten along well with disabled folks. I think this is because they were more understanding and did not bully me. You could say I found a home in those resource rooms. It wasn't until adulthood that I realized I could work with disabled folks, but my experience with Jen has been more than a job, it is also a home. I met Jen through my best friend Mikhail, who was working for Jen at the time, but has since needed to switch to a less physical job. For the first while I worked with Jen as her assistant, it was one-on-one, as she lived alone, although her partner Tom was also often there. This all changed about a year ago when the shared services pilot finally started, and I received formalized training and courses sponsored by Independent Living Nova Scotia to become a residential resource worker, or RRW. In the start of the shared services program at Wellington, I did feel overwhelmed by the additional responsibilities involved in going from providing care for one lovely lady to multiple. I found it difficult at that time to actually share responsibility with others in the caregiving, as I often struggled with feeling like I was bossing people around. Now we have a wonderful team at Wellington, and I feel we are all getting along well, and I have gained some confidence in my leadership abilities. Today, I want to talk about the incredible experience and honor I had in helping Jen write her book. It was a journey that required patience, understanding, and a lot of creativity. By providing support tailored to Jen's unique needs, we were able to create an inclusive environment where her voice could shine. First and foremost, it was essential to understand Jen's specific challenges and needs. Whether it be physical, sensory, or cognitive, we had to adapt our approach to meet her requirements. This involved using accessible tools, adjusting the writing process, and finding alternative methods of communication. As somebody who is neurodivergent myself, I truly understand the challenges and importance of communication in its many forms, be it verbal or nonverbal. There were many hours spent with my face close to Jen's face, doing my best to understand the words she was trying to tell me, and when needed, using her vowel-based spelling system for spelling out words. a lot of research done, and the biggest struggle of all for me personally, the referencing. Though, through all of this, Jen showed, as usual, her remarkable patience. Something I do feel is sometimes overlooked when discussing disability and caregiving is that this goes both ways. You as the caregiver also have needs. For example, I need spell checker and dictionary.com when I'm writing or even talking with Jen. Jokes aside, it's about finding a meeting point between everyone's needs where we can all accomplish what needs to be done. Jen is humble, hilarious with a sharp wit, and always thinking of others. These qualities were very helpful and on full display when Jen paired up with Independent Living Nova Scotia to finally bring her dream of helping young adults with severe disabilities experience living in the community with the same independence and dignity of risk that everyone deserves as a human being. To wrap things up, I want to say thank you so much to everyone involved in this project and making it a reality, and I hope that you all grab a copy of Jen's new book. And I would like to introduce my next colleague, Farzan, who's also going to share his experiences writing with Jen.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to be here for our incredible Jen Powley. I will share my experience of writing and working with her this evening. And in the meantime, I will try to convey that feeling of how this book was written. Captured in this body lives a great soul, a soul so persistent and stubborn, but yet so kind and generous. A soul so funny and witty at times that you want to knock your head against the wall. A soul so caring and dedicated to her surroundings and her own cause. A soul so critical and skeptical, but also open to criticism and discussion. A soul so rich in abilities. A soul which is not bound to the body she lives in. She speaks up, advises, suggests, questions, reminds, encourages, taps you on shoulder, pushes, walks, shares food, and donates her belongings to you. She helps, she empathizes. Above all, she cracks jokes at you, especially on Monday mornings when you feel crappy for no good reason. In Jen's presence, she brings joys through her jokes, cheers you up regularly, and is an assistant. And she wants more than that, an assistant, a pal, a hand, and a voice. She keeps on writing, no matter how sleepy she is and tired, no matter how much she drools over her body, she keeps writing. She flows like a river, so lively and effervescent. She knows the barriers she has, but she also knows what masterpiece she's capable of. She makes her assistants' environment so comfortable that they feel at home, even if they are 5,522 miles away from home. She asks questions about where you come from and why you have moved to Canada. She socializes and shows interest in your culture, food, way of thinking, and language. She even tries to learn Persian. Then she shows her photos on the wall and shares her stories with you. She tells you the story of her tattoos. She tells you why she has a Persian tattoo on her left wrist. It says Ahu, meaning gazelle or deer. To those who don't know Jen personally, this might be ironic when you think about a gazelle running freely in the grasslands and Jen being a quadriplegic. But to those who know her well enough, it all makes sense. She shares stories about her family and their farm in Alberta as a kid. She tells you about her favorite cat, Tula, and she talks about how she met Tom, her significant other. Tells you how his type 1 diabetes, and tells you how handsome he is, and brags about how taller he is than I am. I beg to differ. She tells you about his type 1 diabetes, that we should always keep juice and granola bars beside his side of the bed. She takes care of her pets and checks Jasmine's weight every week. She keeps track of her weight and puts it on the wall. She compiles the hours every second Sunday and sends it to her bookkeeper. She tries to be as accurate as possible. She double checks everything. Then she plans and plans and plans and plans. She says something which I don't understand. It's almost 9 p.m. She's not tired. I'm too slow to understand her. So I ask her if I could spell. She blinks. This means yes. So I say A, she blinks. And I say A, and then she blinks again. The first letter A, she blinks. Okay, the second letter, A, E, she blinks. E, F, G, she blinks. The second letter G, she blinks. Okay, next letter, A, E, she blinks. E, she blinks. Third letter E, she blinks. A, G, E, agenda, she blinks. I open the agenda. Okay, we are in August. What day? She speaks. I read her lips. The 19th, she blinks. She keeps talking. I keep reading her lips. Making a home book launch. She blinks. Will we be able to make it, Jen? She blinks. But Jen, what is the book about? She keeps talking. I keep reading her lips. I don't get it. Shall I spell? She blinks. A, E, I, O, U, she blinks. U, she blinks. Okay, first letter U. A, E, I, she blinks. I, J, K, L, M, N, she blinks. A, she blinks. A, B, C, she blinks. A, she blinks. A, E, I, O, she blinks. O, blinks. I, J, she blinks. U, N, C, O, uncover my hands. She is feeling hot, so I uncover her hands. Then we keep spelling. It's 9:45. We don't have much time left. She keeps talking, and I keep reading her lips. No more where? She rolls her eyes in frustration. I say, sorry, Jen, I will try again. Shall I spell? She blinks unwillingly. I should have listened to her when she offered me coffee earlier. So, no more A, E, I, O, U, she blinks. U, V, W, she blinks. The first word W blinks. She blinks. A, E, I, O, blinks. O, P, Q, R, blinks. So far, W, A, R, blinks. Good. Next letter. A, E, blinks. E, blinks. W, A, R, E. Next letter. A, E, she blinks. E, F, G, H, she blinks. W, A, R, E, H. Okay. A, E, I, O, she blinks. Oh, she blinks. A-E-I-O-U, blinks. U, blinks. Oh, I see. No more warehousing. She blinks and smiles. That is how this book was written. It was a combination of lip reading, listening to Jen, and spelling with her. It was such a journey and education for everyone who worked with Jen. I personally think of it as a second master's degree. We read so many books, did a lot of research, and wrote. And above all, she let me, and every one of us, enter her world and her home. She's a homemaker. Her book deserves the title. Thank you. Thank you. And now it's my honor to introduce the author herself. Ladies and gentlemen, incredible Jen Powley. And also Tom.
I'm just going to read for Jen. I thought that people ought to know how difficult it is to keep a person with severe physical disabilities out of a nursing home. In Nova Scotia, they've been warehousing these individuals in nursing homes for over 50 years. Some habits are hard to break. On February 28th, 2019, we submitted a proposal to the Department of Community Services to start a new kind of living situation. I say we because I was not on the journey alone. There was a team of people all fighting for change. It took until January of 2020 to get approval from the government for shared attendant care, and it took until November of 2022 to actually have the units in operation. We'd proposed developing units for people with severe physical disabilities because we knew they should reside outside of institutions. The needs of people with severe physical disabilities are no different than those of you and I. We need to be fed and washed just like you. We might have different equipment, but there's no special knowledge that is required. The people who work for the program are amazing, and they have very different backgrounds. There are a few with medical backgrounds from other countries, but on the most part, they don't have any special training. We wanted an answer to why people with intellectual disabilities were given homes in the community back in 1969, but people with severe physical disabilities have been warehoused in nursing homes till this very day. I've been told that group homes, though in the community, are run like little institutions unless there is strong and ongoing family intervention. The whole project came out of my own selfish desire to keep sleeping next to my partner. I think I was totally looking after my own desires, but it has had enormous repercussions. The government has had to change their ways after they lost a court case in October 2021. This proposal might have happened at the same time, but the writing was on the wall. The Court of Appeal found that the government of Nova Scotia was systemically discriminating against people with disabilities. A human rights tribunal came back on Wednesday, April 26, 2023, saying over the next 5 years, Nova Scotia was to close all institutions housing people with disabilities. I guess a proposal came at the right time. All people were to be returned to the community where they ought to be with the support they deserve, for the simple reason that they are human. There was a confluence of factors on the government influencing them to change the way they've been dealing with people with disabilities. Maybe I shouldn't have been as worried as I was. The team we compiled has expertise in handling complexities of the system. More than one government department had to be involved, and that's not something that happens easily for the government of Nova Scotia. The program has a minimum of 2 attendants on at all times, even overnight. I didn't like the program at first. I felt overlooked. There were 3 other occupants who all had strong, clear voices. I thought more attention was being paid to the other residents because I thought my voice was not loud enough to be heard. The new living arrangement has brought a multitude of changes. I love my new roommate, Vicky, but we have very different ideas of what art should be hung up on the walls. She likes clip art inspired by comics and the book series she has consumed. I'm a bit of an art snob and prefer original paintings. I'd gotten used to my hoarding habit. I like to keep multiple copies of everything. I can't get rid of anything, or at least I thought I was that way. I have gotten rid of a lot through donations to causes I believe in. I'm glad that I was able to finish the manuscript for Making a Home 2 months before the program began. Now that the program has begun, I'm officially a client of the Department of Community Services. The department's under the erroneous assumption that Canadian authors actually make money from the books they publish. The truth is that the author usually depends on their partner for income. The only author I know of to make money off her books is J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series. She's not Canadian, and I don't know if it's the movie rights she earned the income from. The last Authors' Night meeting I held with the Writers' Union of Canada Atlantic Division, we talked about how authors could supplement their income. What authors earn from the sale of their books is not enough to pay the bills. I already have plans for the sequel to Making a Home. It'll be called Settling In, but we have to find out a way that we can pay for the writing.
I was 37 when I first visited a nursing home with the thought, could I live here? The place was Parkstone, owned and operated by Shanex. I knew it was a nursing home by its institutional smell. It must have been the cleaning supplies they use because all institutions have the same reek of impersonality. Though it is meant to be a home, it does not smell like a home, either in a good way or a bad way. Maybe it was the hour at which I arrived, but it smelled neither like freshly baked cookies nor like moldy, damp towels. It smelled like nothing except cleaning chemicals. My assistant should have known not to reverse that close to the wall. The headrest on my wheelchair has a metal pole sticking straight out behind it. Some people put tennis balls on pieces like that to contain the potential danger of the sharp edge, but I wanted my wheelchair to be adult-like. Maybe I should not have been so concerned about appearances, but I'm not beyond that. So when my assistant backed me up, I poked a hole right through the drywall. Thankfully, the nursing home did not sue for damages. I was sure they had a handyman on staff who could fix the drywall in an instant. Besides, it would look bad if they tried to sue me. The rooms at Parkstone were not all bad. They were single rooms, which is a good start because they provide some privacy. I could make the room homey with the right quilt and curtains. But when I asked about their overnight guest policy, I was dismayed. Quote, my partner Tom stays overnight at least one night on the weekend. I was hoping you could guarantee him a cot, end quote. A cot wasn't as good as a regular bed. He wouldn't be able to put his large hand on my chest, cupping my two smaller hands. But at least I would be able to hear his soft snoring. The person who was giving me the tour replied curtly, I can appreciate that, but I'm afraid the cots are first used for the relatives of people who are palliative. At home, Tom kind of fits on my queen-size bed. He's a little too long for it. But in the nursing home, I would have a twin bed. I can appreciate why cots go to the family members of people who are palliative, but why can't Parkstone purchase more cots? The government would be paying for my care, and I'm sure Shanex's shareholders wouldn't even notice a few less dollars. When I left the room, I looked sheepishly at the hole in the wall, then proceeded down the hall and out to my vehicle. Is there a proper reaction to having spent the afternoon visiting a nursing home? I hadn't read much on middle-aged women looking at nursing homes. I rolled out of the building and I felt conflicted. Part of me wanted to scream and another part wanted to cry. I did neither, instead maintaining the cool demeanor of indifference. I've found that bottling up my emotions is the best way to be an appropriate role model for my numerous employees. I have about 90 assistants over the years. I started needing an assistant when I went back to university to get my planning degree. I could drive neither my van nor my power chair. I could not feed myself. It only got worse from there. That is the nature of progressive illnesses. When I hired university students to be my assistants, I had about 10 on staff at any given time. I thought of myself as their wise older sister. I thought if I talked to Tom about the issue, he may have a solution, but I was worried that my emotions would affect the way he looks at me, about the bus ride he would eventually have to take to visit me. Instead, I let the emotions out as I cried myself to sleep. Other than this release, I kept it all inside. There, it only bothers me.
We'll be quick.
Say we're drawing for 50-50? Yeah. So we're going to draw for 50-50 here, folks.